We don't need to bury the lead, people. We can just dive right into it. Voluminous new Epstein document release includes multiple Trump mentions but little revelatory news. AP News? I didn't know that you were compromised. I didn't know you were compromised too. Some stuff has come out, my friends. Okay, so let's take a look. I just want you guys to understand what a shit show this entire lead up was. A lot of these files got leaked before the DOJ officially released them because apparently they were already up on the DOJ's release page but weren't like archived publicly, so it was trivially easy for people to access the URL beforehand. In addition, many of these files were redacted in a way that allowed you to get through the redaction by simply copy and pasting the black bars were just an extra element superimposed over text. So we're talking like thousands of pages where the redactions could just be removed, like nothing, like it's not even there, okay? So all of this was happening in the lead up to the release, today's release of the files, right? And as soon as they actually did release and we got all of the stuff that was archived, because again, keep in mind, it's like 1 million files, right? So even if you have access to the information before it's supposed to be released, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to instantly know what's in there, okay? But the DOJ did the official release, and the files contained within are so bad that they captioned the release tweet. The DOJ has officially released nearly 30,000 more pages of documents. Some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they had a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. So, obviously, this is a lie. The specific pieces of information that they are worried about here were just not made public because they were archived, into the Epstein files, as were many things. And there was a bunch of interesting information. For example, we have corroborated evidence that the FBI was talking about knowing about at least 10 co-conspirators to Epstein's child sex trafficking. So that's not just clients they may have sold to, but people involved, people on whom they had some degree of information. Now, I don't believe we know who those names are. I think we can take a couple of easy guesses, but at the very least, it completely blows out of the water the previous claims made by Kash Patel, under oath, by the way. Not only that there were no Epstein files, but that there was no evidence of any co-conspirators at all. It was just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The official line from the administration was that Ghislaine and Epstein maintained the world's most notorious child sex trafficking racket, and they had no help and no clients. They did it purely for the love of the game and only for themselves. As we're going to look at soon, you know what? Let's not look at it soon. Let's save the best for last, okay? This is another tidbit that looks really fucking bad for Trump. This is a file, an internal file, with the DOJ back in 2020 in Trump's first administration. For your situational awareness, wanted to let you know that the flight records we received yesterday reflect that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously had been reported, or that we were aware, including during the period we would expect to charge in a Maxwell case. In particular, he's listed as a passenger on at least 8 flights between 1993 and 1996, including at least 4 in which Maxwell was also present. He is listed as having traveled with, among others and at various times, Marla Maples, his daughter Tiffany, and his son Eric. On one flight in 1993, he and Epstein are the only 2 listed passengers. On another, the only 3 passengers are Epstein, Trump, and then 20-year-old blank. On 2 other flights, 2 of the passengers, respectively, were women who would be possible witnesses in a Maxwell case. We've just finished reviewing the full records and didn't want any of this to be a surprise down the road. Or, in other words, back during Trump's first term, the DOJ was getting all of this corroborated evidence from the FBI, and the Trump DOJ then was like, we got to get a lid on this, Ooh, this one looks really bad, let's assess the situation here. It's a weird way for the DOJ to talk about a criminal case they have no stake in, right? Like, didn't want any of this to be a surprise down the road? Doesn't really make sense unless you're worried about, you know, the president getting involved. Your president. And Merrick Garland did nothing? Yep. Please remember that at any point in Biden's term, Merrick Garland could have uncorked this bottle and just let the fire out. And every day he'd wake up and he chose not to. Every single day. Jesus Christ, I hate them. You should. You should hate them so much. But today, the person we hate most is Donald Trump. Here is the thing that looks worst, of all of these tidbits, in my opinion, and many others, the thing that looks worse for Donald Trump here. And it's pretty fucking bad. A couple of days before Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide or whatever, he wrote a letter to infamous pedophile Larry Nassar. That's that was the coach that molested all those girls. Epstein sent Larry Nassar a letter that appears to be a suicide note. Dear Larry Nassar, LN, as you know by now, I have taken the short route home. You can intuit what that means. Good luck. We shared one thing. Our love and caring for young ladies and the hope they'd reach their full potential. Our president also shares our love of young, nubile girls. When a young beauty walked by, he loved to, quote, grab snatch. Whereas we ended up snatching grub, like at a prison mess hall, see? In the mess halls of the system, life is unfair. The final letter from Jeffrey Epstein, the final message he put out into the world was, it's not fair that our president also got to be a pedophile, but he's free and we're not. The Justice Department saying this letter is fake? Yeah, no shit. Obviously they are. Look at it. Read it. This letter was archived shortly after Jeffrey Epstein's suicide. The fact that it was written and sent was filed as evidence under Trump's DOJ over 5 years ago. The existence of the letter has been known for years, but not its contents. We've known for a long time that Epstein sent a letter to Larry Nassar shortly before killing himself. We didn't know what the text was. So, yeah. What do you even do with this? MAGA Twitter pretending it's all fake. Of course! What else could they do, man? Are you kidding me? The last letter from Epstein. Our president shares our love of young nubile girls. When a young beauty walked by, he loved to grab snatch. Meanwhile, we're rotting in prison. How unfair. You can't own this. Jesus Christ. Yeah, they are so desperate to pretend that this is fake. The DOJ replied to a pop-based tweet. The FBI has confirmed this alleged letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar is fake. The fake letter was received by the mail, flagged for the FBI at the time. The FBI made this conclusion based on the following facts. I'm not going to engage with this. They're just lying. This letter has been known to exist for years. Its existence wasn't contested. It was well known. It was a part of the evidence that was sifted through after Epstein's suicide. Why would we ever take them seriously? They said there were no files. They said there were no co-conspirators. Not just Pop-Base, Midas Touch, TMZ, and many more. Not now, kitten. The walls are closing in on daddy. Definitely makes the Justice Department look good that they're replying to every single viral tweet discussing the overwhelming evidence that Donald Trump children. You know? Like, seriously, TMZ? Everyone? Why not? Everyone? Just go after everyone. Sue them, why don't you? Sue them in court. Bring up discoverability. That's so goofy, what the hell? Their desperation is warranted. This looks really fucking bad. In an ideal world, this would be Trump's Watergate. This is so much worse than Watergate, man. It's a fucking cartoon. The world's most notorious pedophile's final, last breath, the last gasp before his death rattle was, it's fucked up, man. Trump gets to fuck so many kids. Why are we in jail and he isn't? That's literally the last thing that he said. rebuttals to all three of their explanations about the letter. I don't feel the need to engage with this. We know for a fact that they lie about absolutely everything. Why should we? They can just say anything. Remember, the narrative from the FBI was that there were no Epstein files, and now I'm supposed to believe the FBI has confirmed this letter is fake? Why even, but like, gee, are they going to do this with everything? Do I have to cite like atmospheric records to disprove their assertion that the sky is not in blue but in fact green? Like what? It's what a complete waste of time. Complete waste of time. There's one where he oversaw a newborn being murdered, and it's most likely his. Sure, why not? Why don't we take a further look? Why don't we take a further look at the drops from this this file release? Trump's posting through it. The Trump Kennedy Center honors will be broadcast tonight on CBS and stream on Paramount. Tune in at 8 p.m. EST. At the request of the board, just about everyone else in America, I'm hosting the event. Tell me what you think of my master of ceremony ability. Posting straight through it like a goddamn arrow. Honoring true greats in the history of entertainment. Sylvester Stallone, Michael Crawford, Kiss, George Strait, and Gloria Gaynor. Huh, gay. All right. I actually don't know about this Michigan file thing. Ah, God. Oh no, is this the Michigan file one, or is this the one where Trump was accused of raping a girl along with Jeffrey Epstein, and then she quote unquote killed herself? Oh yeah, sorry. Here, hold on. We can skip to the relevant information. On Christmas Eve of 1999, or the day prior, Blank was over visiting his son, who he had with Blank years prior. Blank began talking to Blank as she seemed to be acting strange and asked Blank if he needed a ride home. Blank asked Blank about his time driving a limousine for 2 years in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. During Blank's time as a driver, he had met Donald Trump. Blank noted he picked the president up in 1995 and took him to the DFW airport. Blank reported some of the things President Trump had spoken about during the ride were on his cell phone, which were very concerning. Blank reported he was, quote, a few seconds from pulling the limousine over on the median and within a few seconds of pulling him out of the car and hurting him due to some of the things he was saying, end quote, as the caller chose not to. Blank noted Trump continuously stated the name Jeffrey while on the phone and made references to, quote, abusing some girl, end quote. Blank was unsure who he was talking to nor who he was referencing. As Blank talked about his time meeting Donald Trump, Blank demeanor went stone cold as Blank stated, quote, he Blank said what as Blank replied, Donald J. Trump had her along with Jeffrey Epstein. Blank noted some girl with a funny name, quote, took me into a fancy hotel or building, that's how it happened. Blank advised Blank to call the police regarding the incident as Blank stated, quote, I can't, they will kill me. On Christmas Day, Blank contacted Blank, stating she had, in fact, called the police about what they had talked about. Blank told Blank she had, quote, done good. Blank did not hear from Blank or Blank until the 1st of January 2000. Blank reached out to Blank, stating Blank was dead and noted she was found with her head, quote, blown off in Kiefer, Oklahoma. Officers on the scene and Blank stated there was no way it was a suicide. Coroner stated it was a suicide. Blank later stated Blank committed suicide because Blank had gotten cocaine from Mexican drug cartel. Blank feels the murder is a cover for Ghislaine. Is this the one where later the body is dumped? No, that's a different one. Sorry, there's a couple of, there's a bunch of like pedophilia and murders here. Keep in mind, all of these are this is FBI, right? Dated back to 2020 when Trump was president. Like, it's not here's a link relating to the newborn baby. That's great. Just playing the hits over here. Epstein record EFTA 000-25010 is an FBI intake report dated why do I'm blanking. This is like such horrific shit. August 3rd, 2020, an unidentified woman/victim reports Epstein trafficked her at age 13 and she was raped by Trump, who later witnessed her newborn daughter be murdered and disposed of from a yacht. Age, DEC, DOB. Additional info, I am just wanting to reconnect with the original detective that called me and I offered information about this. How is contact known? He was orchestrating a deal along with my uncle where different men, a few women and girls would come to a variety of boats and yachts and pay money to force me to do blank with them when I was 13 and pregnant. Witness information, first name Donald, middle name blank, last name Trump, age 70. Additional info, again, just trying to find out the NYPD detective on the FBI sex trafficking case force that called me a couple of weeks ago and spoke to me about some of these issues. How is contact known? He participated regularly in paying money to force me to blank with him, and he was present when my uncle murdered my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. What fascinating stuff the FBI has been holding on to for a long time. And these are just like glimpses of it, you know? These are just the bits that got filed in with the FBI. There's even more of it? Sure, why not? QAnon was right, but it was all Donald Trump. Yeah, well, I mean, it was a lot of people, but yeah, he's definitely a pretty big figure in it. Oh, this last page is the same one that we just looked at. But there were more pages beforehand. When did the crime/incident occur? Okay, it's just filing a report. Follow-up tip regarding being a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, yeah, so this is an earlier correspondence. I previously provided a tip about 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, under an alias that I have for myself, blank. All the other details of the previous tip match all the information given in today's tip, except I am giving my real name. A detective from NYPD FBI Sex Trafficking Task Force called me a couple weeks ago from a 212 area code number. I talked to him for about 20 or 30 minutes about my being sex trafficked by my uncle and Jeffrey Epstein in 1984 while I was about 13 and pregnant. I told him some other important information about the other high-profile individuals involved in sex trafficking, in my sex trafficking, and the murder and disposal of my newborn daughter because I gave birth to her while in the middle of this sex trafficking ordeal. I cannot remember the detective's name, nor do I have a number where I can contact him. Okay, so that was the prior information before the... Well, Rolling Stone was reporting on this back in 2023. The fact that Jeffrey Epstein wrote a letter to Larry Nassar has been known, not the contents of the letter. The fact that a letter was sent has been known for a time. But yeah, no, just insane amount of information today. Just tiny snippets. The letter was hidden? Yes. The DOJ and FBI, well, the DOJ, chose to keep it hidden. Under Trump. And then under Biden, of course, they continued that trend for some reason. The DOJ coping on Twitter, copy-pasting the same reply to every random account. Yeah, the DOJ right now is apparently trying to... The DOJ is trying to be like a one-entity... what is it called? Context needed on Twitter. What is it? When you can add an addendum to a tweet. You know what I mean? The correction. What is that called? Community notes. Yeah, they're trying to community notes everyone talking about this. But sadly, I know it's difficult to fathom in this time, in this era. But like there are lines, you know. This is really fucking tough to defend. Really, really, really tough. Not just like morally or whatever, but optically. A handwritten letter from Jeffrey Epstein. Jesus Christ. About as bad as it gets. Yeah, take a look at what the Justice Department is doing. Here's them saying they're releasing the fake files that are definitely fake, even though they were logged by the FBI and DOJ back in Trump's first term. The Department of Justice currently looking into validity of this alleged letter from Jeffrey Epstein and Larry Nassar. We'll follow up as soon as possible. And then 8 seconds later, the FBI has confirmed this letter is fake. We've known about the letter for years, but we're going to do some deep dive to find out whether or not this letter that proves the president's file is a fake. We found out that it was. Nothing more to say about it. Retweeting Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General. There has been a lot of sensationalism, even outright lies these past few days about the Epstein files, but let's separate fact from fiction. Document production is just that. We produce documents, and sometimes this can result in releasing fake or false documents because they are simply in our possession because the law requires this. Case in point, the so-called Epstein-Nassar letter is clearly fake. Wrong handwriting, wrong return address, postmarked 3 days after Epstein died. Just unbelievably desperate to cover this up. Don't know if you covered it, but Bill Clinton wants full transparency of the files as well. Yes, yeah. Bill Clinton essentially said, like, fuck it, drop it. Which is really, really, really funny. And also beast mode. Absolutely beast mode, you know? Not to give credit to a and do what MAGA's been doing, but you know, if your response to the Epstein files, unlike Trump, unlike all these dickless fucking New York Times op-ed writers who are like, don't you think we're all focusing too much on Epstein? And then it turns out they also knew Epstein. Just saying, yeah, drop it. I don't really care. I'm 100 years old. Just drop it. And then weirdly enough, after Bill Clinton said that, Donald Trump put out a tweet defending him. I don't know how the fuck the MAGA defenders like I do not know how they fucking... I don't know what kind of hula hoop shit they're doing up here to justify their behavior. It's insane. Please bring up that post. When do you find it for me, okay? I'm dissociating. This is insane, man. I can't believe, like, America now has the dubious honor of having like the most infamous file executive branch controversy in human history. I genuinely can't think of anything else that comes close. It's unbelievable. Now that's us. That's us now. Great. Fourth world country. Let's take a look at some more of what the DOJ is up to. The FBI has confirmed this alleged letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry. Wait, they're replying to a tweet with 200 likes? Independent reporter. It's just a YouTuber? Okay. OSINT Defender, incredible. Forbes, incredible. Breaking 911. Midas Touch. Oh, that's the one I retweeted. Pop Base, I retweeted that one too, just for, get the DOJ quote tweet, do it. I already did. Well, I didn't get the community note from the DOJ, but I did tweet about it. TMZ. Kyle Griffin. Wow, they're really going after everyone. The Wall Street Journal. The walls are, in fact, closing in around Daddy as we speak. Oh, boy. Yeah, they were really just using black highlighter for the redactions. But look, the files contain a lot. I'm just like, we have to put a little bow on this. It is Christmas time. I don't know. The world's most notorious files, truly. I don't know how how do I make jokes about or even comment on any of this, frankly, but like Jeffrey Epstein's last letter being to another saying, why the fuck does Trump get to so many little girls and we're the ones in jail? How do you genuinely like what it would like? I'm asking you, like, imagine yourself in my position, okay? Imagine you're wearing the cowboy shirt, all right? How the fuck do you comment on this? You can only say beyond satire only so many times. Make fun of them. How do you make fun of? It's not even a making fun of kind of thing. What do you like? How do you make fun of them? Donald Trump has been raping children for longer than almost anyone watching this has been alive. And he is the president of the United States. And he just named the Kennedy Center, the Trump Kennedy Center or whatever. Like what is there to make fun of? Trump defending Bill Clinton? That's so funny.
Were you surprised by the number of photos of Bill Clinton in the Epstein files? And can you commit to their full... What? And were you surprised by the number of photos of Bill Clinton in the Epstein files? And can you commit to their full release by the end of the year? Some of the victims were protesting that too many of them were redacted.
I know there are a lot of people that are angry about all of the pictures of other people, you know, but I think it's terrible. Look, I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him, but this is what the Democrats, mostly Democrats, and a couple of bad Republicans are asking for. So they're giving their photos of me, too. Everybody was friendly with this guy, either friendly or not friendly, but they're real.
You just have to be so willfully delusional. I wish there was a way to peel apart the folds of their brain to understand what, like, mentally has to be going on with a Republican who does not believe that Trump is a pedophile. Like, who actually doesn't, you know, who, like, some delusional, like, a lot of them just don't pay attention, and there's that. And then there are the grifters and the people who are willfully lying because it's politically expedient. And then a lot of Republicans are just also pedophiles, right? But there are a lot of them who don't think how? I think it's a mental block for their own sanity. Genuinely, yeah. How else do you back out of a cult? Like they're completely committed. They have no other political project or aspiration. They have nothing else. They have no way out past this. There's no other route for them to take. They just have to keep banging their head against this wall forever. My dad keeps saying, well, he was a playboy. Your dad might have weird opinions on underage girls himself. Not to like hate or invoke or whatever, but that's an insane fucking thing to say. I mean, how much does your dad know? Like, is your dad still like living off the media hype of grab him by the pussy, or did your dad read the Jeffrey Epstein letter and he's like, yeah, well, you know, I don't know. That's crazy. The silence from MAGA has been deafening, except for the fucking DOJ. I have to ask, is this redaction shit a new height of incompetence, or is it malicious compliance / sabotage? Actually, I think you're making a good point by implication. I think there's a very real chance that the incredible incompetence of this file drop was deliberate from the people who have been hired to censor it, because not all of them are hardcore loyalists. They have brought on so many people from the Justice Department and from the FBI, and not all of them are hardcore Trump loyalists. In fact, I'd argue that most of them aren't. You know, they're doing a job, but I think that past a point, they're like, let's just, who fucking cares? You know? There's probably a lot of incompetence too, but I guarantee you that on some level, malicious incompetence is playing a hand here. And thank God for that, huh? Thank God for Pam Bondi being a stupid sack of shit. Thank God for Kash Patel being a stupid sack of shit. Thank God, seriously. Though, honestly, there's so much out there. I don't know if them being smart would have stopped this. Thank God for Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey, who have been by far the loudest and most aggressive voices in pushing for the release of these files. You know? And fuck Biden, man. At any point in the previous administration, they could have cracked this one open. Unbelievable. Remember Kamala Harris's response? We wouldn't want to weaponize the DOJ. Fuck off. That's their job. It's the Justice Department. You're supposed to look into federal crimes. This is like the federal crime. You didn't go after J6. You didn't go after anyone in the Republican Party for being complicit in the coup attempt. You don't go after this. The silver lining here is that this way it's entirely their own fault, not a Dem DOJ. Yeah, it's also pretty convenient for us that so many of these incriminating files were logged back when the FBI and DOJ was working for Trump in his first term, you know? Makes it that much harder for them to get away with the whole absolutely everything is fake forever approach. Rolling Stone wrote an article about it in 2023. Yeah, I know. People are calling it the least suspicious numbering scheme of all time. Really makes you wonder, like, how much is still in there. You really think there are just 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 files on Trump kids? There are probably hundreds of them. Like, maybe thousands. Trump, after all, definitely lots of kids, and a lot of those kids would have later talked to the FBI. Like, we're talking potentially books and books and books of documents just on Trump, you know? Do you think Trump will be impeached? Nah, probably not. This isn't really about impeachment. It's about gunning down his presidency with unpopularity. Probably not impeachment, no. Do voters even care? They do. Not enough of them, but they do. No, I wouldn't expect him to be impeached over this. I don't think anything could really lead to him being impeached, to be honest. Well, Tim being impeached, not Tim being convicted, you know. When Dems take the House, they might try for it.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
Now, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel might be impeached over this. These might be the sacrificial lambs. I could kind of see Republicans giving them up in the hopes that doing so revitalizes Trump a little bit, but it won't. They might be okay with this, though. They don't like Kash or Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is a weakling and a coward, and Kash Patel is not white. And that's all it takes. They might be willing to give them up. Of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida and served grand jury subpoenas. 1 in Boston, 1 in NYC, 1 in Connecticut were located and served. 4 of the 10 are outstanding with attempts having been made. 1 is a wealthy businessman in Ohio. A lead is being sent to CV. The remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. Team flying out tomorrow to interview approximately 25 victims. Impeachment on Bondi has already been filed. Well, it hasn't been submitted, right? It's just been written. The House is in session, right? No, it's not currently in session. Remember, Mike Johnson brought the House out of session 1 day early for no reason. But coincidentally, the day they, thank you, love, the day they missed was the day the Epstein files released. So, you know, just a coincidence that the House is also the group that can file articles of impeachment. Put Mike Johnson in the device. Yeah, he is trying so fucking hard to defend them. It's grim, man. I don't know. I'm sorry. It's tough to keep up the witty banter. It's just like I know we've talked about it for ages, but it's the president of the United States has been children at very least recently in his whole life. He's a pretty old guy. And the entire federal government is complicit in covering it up. And they're attempting to, and they're doing a very bad job, you know. But, you know, even now, the media continues to whitewash it. The Associated Press says there's little revelatory news in this drop. That's just a lie. I watched CNN segments on it. You know what they were saying in CNN? After every breath, they were saying, we'd like to remind the viewers that Trump has not been formally accused of sexual misconduct or whatever by the Justice Department. You know why they have to say by the Justice Department? Because Trump has been sued for raping a teenage girl. At least one before, but that was a civil case because it was brought by her, and she had to drop the case because of all the death threats that she was getting. Also, whether or not Trump's DOJ has charged Trump is irrelevant. Like, that's the conspiracy. It wouldn't be a conspiracy if the government was like, holy shit, we gotta arrest these pedophiles. That's the opposite of a conspiracy. That's the way the system is supposed to work. You know, in theory. BBC in the UK has been doing the same. I understand them doing it with the BBC because the UK has much more strict laws when it comes to slander and libel. But in the United States, absolutely fucking not. You know, that kind of care is not needed here at all. You know, there's no excuse for it. It's just weakness. How is a normal person with empathy not furious? I think the people with empathy probably are. Like, have you met Trump supporters? They're not good people. They're worse people than us. Sure, they're capable of tribally selective empathy, but like those broader empathy, you know, sort of conceptual empathy, I think sort of escapes them. That's a cognitive level they can't rise to. What's the significance of the countries that he had fake IDs in? Oh, wealthy, powerful people have IDs everywhere. And I don't know, I don't think these are fake. I just think these are his IDs from different countries, right? Ukraine, Russia, Lithuania, Moroccan, Italian, Czech, South Africa. It just makes sense, right? He was a citizen of all those countries? No? I don't think so. Well, wait, actually, if you're super, super, super rich, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of countries where you can, in fact, basically just buy citizenship. For sure. But this one's not citizenship. This is a visa to Morocco. Anyway, not really relevant. God, it's grim. Lithuania mentioned! Let's fucking go! Presumably he'd need to be a citizen to have a passport from there, right? Well, visa. But there might be exceptions or maybe differences between, I don't know, like there might be some countries that would allow you to have a passport from there on some conditions, even if you're not a formal citizen. I don't know. The world is a complicated place. I'm not going to, pretend I know everything about everything. This makes Watergate look like nothing. Oh yeah, for sure. Watergate is nothing compared to this. Absolutely nothing. It's irrelevant. Some have fake names. Oh, whatever. He was a silly guy. Okay. I guess it's really just a matter of, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of news agencies are going to keep tiptoeing around Donald Trump because they're afraid of his litigious behavior. But eventually, I don't know, man. It all seems to be falling apart. He's not even getting the legal help that he used to. You know, just today, the Supreme Court reaffirmed a lower court's ruling that Donald Trump did not have legal standing to deploy the National Guard to Chicago. Yeah, it's right here. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 against Trump. You know? Like, the courts are just not lining up with him. If the courts aren't lining up with him, then there are fewer consequences for speaking plainly about how bad he is. Everyone will have always hated Trump by spring lull. Listen, there is going to be a media backlash, and you need to be ready for it, okay? All of the media in the United States, all of the mainstream media, and a lot of the quote-unquote independent media is ruled by a tight-knit cabal of oligarch pedophile technocrats who believe that they rule the world, and they're kind of right, that the world belongs to them, and they're not right on that one, and that Donald Trump is their last best hope for a president who will let them do what they want, which so far he has. Donald Trump has basically let these people get away with anything they want, any investment, any merger, whatever else. So I guarantee you that as Trump starts to wane and falter, and as it becomes increasingly evident that there's nobody else who can replace Trump, right? Nobody's lining up right after him who's going to be able to carry that political momentum. A lot of these oligarchs are going to lose their fucking mind. Some of them, like I can give you a couple easy names, Bezos, Zuckerberg, they're just going to effortlessly slide into the next administration. No big deal. What? Oh, contributed to Trump's inauguration fund? Ah, come on, everyone did. We're just here to have a good time. Come on. Let's move on. We don't need to worry about it. We always hated Trump. We were just doing what we felt we had to. That kind of shit, you know? Little stumble and a land. But some of them, like Larry Ellison or whatever, are going to desperately cling on to this little closing window of infinite oligarch power. And you are going to see the most unhinged fucking behavior. It's going to be like Barry Weiss everywhere. Everything will be Barry Weiss. It's like Charlie Kirk. We are Barry Weiss. It's going to be everywhere. Just on every level, media control and capture. I think we are past the point of peak Trump, but I think we are before the point of peak Trump media control. Does that make sense? Trump will never have the power and mandate that he had back at the beginning of 2005. But at some point down the line, we are going to see a severe worsening of this this tight grip. Did I say 2005? 2025, 2020, you know what I mean. We are going to see a massive contraction. And I think that actually what we saw the other day with Barry Weiss and the 60 Minutes episode censorship and that whole kerfuffle, I think that's kind of like a peek into what we're looking into, you know? There's going to be more fighting between the journalists and the people in the newsroom and the people who run these businesses. It's going to lead to more people being fired and replaced, and it's going to be a fucking shit show, you know? I don't necessarily think it's all going to work. What's her problem anyway? Is it just the Zionism? Barry Weiss is a deep state plant, an unironic psyop who has been backed by billionaires to advance their agenda. That's it. It's not just the Zionism. She doesn't authentically believe in anything. Her project is and always has been to be a sycophant for the billionaires who have bought her. That's not an exaggeration. Is Google deeply in bed with Trump as well? Or are they keeping some distance? Google has been relatively light in its capitulation to the administration, thank God. I was worried back when Trump got elected that tech social media companies would start like reshaping their algorithms to deprioritize left-leaning voices. Thankfully, for the most part, I don't think that's happened, or maybe it has a little bit, but not so much that it's gotten in the way of me buying nice clothing. So that's all I really care about. They might still do it in the future, though. Like I said, it's only going to get worse, at least for a little while. They can barely control algos. Yeah, it's pretty tough to control. They have been going after pro-Palestine content more, especially on TikTok, I've heard. Especially on TikTok. We are all Barry Weiss. Anyway, yeah, you get me. You get me. I think Musk was the only one who really tried. Remember when Musk tried to implement that Twitter account that was like, here's your banger of the week, and they would post like the most attention-grabbing clickbait content, the tweet, and then they stopped doing it because like the top tweet for a week was Elon Musk is a pedophile. It got like 700,000 likes or something. It's pretty funny. This really pisses me off, man. Little revelatory news. That fucking Epstein letter, our president gets to fuck little girls and we don't. What the fuck? Trump getting implicated in multiple FBI reports, not only for children, but also being present while a infant is thrown into Lake Michigan. AP is usually good too. Yeah, no, AP is usually a lot more snide with the Trump administration. AP still has a beef with the administration off of the fucking Gulf of Mexico shit. We must keep targeting and never forget the people responsible for all this cover-up. I, for my part, look forward to rubbing all of this in the face of everyone who voted for Trump forever for the rest of their lives. I will never, ever, ever let it go. I will never give it up. I will never be cool about it. You can never let them forget. There's not even any like political expedience to it. There's no like, I don't know, oh, well, the corruption was part of the time, or oh, well, it was a necessary evil. It's just open, naked, unambiguous, like, yeah, he's a pedophile, yeah, he's evil, and we love him anyway. The libs who enable this? Yeah, no, for sure. I think that you should 100% get to hold this against everyone who worked in Biden's DOJ, Biden himself, and anyone who's defended that decision, which includes Kamala Harris. I will not vote for Kamala Harris in 2028. I'm just laying that one out there on the table right now. If she is the primary winner, then I will not vote in 2028, at least not in the federal election. As far as I'm concerned, Kamala Harris is as complicit in protecting pedophiles as Merrick Garland, and Merrick Garland is just as complicit as Pam Bondi, because Merrick Garland could have brought those cases forward, and he didn't. Pam Bondi had to be forced to. Fuck these people. Fuck all of them. What about Newsom? Well, Newsom hasn't been involved in the Epstein stuff, to my knowledge. We haven't gotten those files yet, okay? I hate Newsom because I live in California. I hate Newsom because I'm a good human being. Do we blame Walz? No, fuck no. Walz has not defended Biden's unwillingness to pursue that avenue, to my knowledge, and he had nothing to do with any of it, you know? Nothing to do with any of it. Will you vote for Vance if he got molested? An interesting moral conundrum. You just made my beautiful partner laugh. That's good. We need to math it out. Get your abacuses out, okay? What files could come out that would change our votes in what direction? There was a tweet I saw. It was about the funniest damn thing I've seen relating to any of this. It was, wow, saw all those Epstein file releases, and it's really changed my perspective on the victims. And, you know, I'm not saying it's their fault exactly, but literally all of them are wearing blackface in these photos. Which does move the needle. Is it too early to tell if anything will come from this? Stuff is already coming from this. Donald Trump is the least popular president in modern American history. This isn't about like this isn't going to motivate some big sweeping like a tidal wave of change. Like this is a movie in search of a third act or whatever. You know? This is about grinding him into the dirt. He's probably going to die an old, wealthy man. He's going to die of old age, free, not in a jail cell. But I accepted that a long time ago, okay? This is about tarnishing the legacy of Trump and what his movement represents and denying them power while he's still alive. History will judge him and his supporters harshly. Yeah, I know that's like kind of a lib thing to say, and I know that it doesn't fix anything right now, but you should take some solace, if for no other reason than because, like, why would you leave it on the table? Why wouldn't you? Know that, like, history is going to fucking ruin this administration. That, like, this administration is going to be a black mark on this country for the rest of the existence of this country. It will be, this is like it is as much so as, I don't know, Henry VIII or Louis XIV or any one of those other leaders who you know about largely because they're part of the history lesson where the decline began or peaked or whatever. So if nothing else, like moving forward into the future, you get to know you were on the right side of that. I know that's not very satisfying. I'm very tired. I've been getting such bad sleep lately.